I'm 27F, and I have a younger sister, Maya, 24F. We grew up with a single mom who did her best, but money was always tight, bills were paid late, groceries were a struggle, and anything beyond necessities was a luxury we couldn't afford. By the time I was old enough to work, I was already used to stepping up, taking care of Maya, handling chores, making sure things ran smoothly at home, while mom juggled jobs. College was never a guarantee for either of us, but Maya was the smart one, at least according to everyone. Teachers praised her, family members encouraged her, and mom made it clear that Maya was the one who had a future worth investing in. So, when it came time to decide what to do after high school, it was never really a question. I gave up my shot at college and went straight into work. At first, it was just a retail job, then a second job waitressing. Eventually, I was balancing overnight shifts too, sleeping in short bursts whenever I could. The money I made went straight to Maya, her tuition, books, rent, and even groceries, so she could focus on her studies. I lived as cheaply as possible, eating instant noodles, wearing the same worn-out sneakers for years, skipping doctor's appointments I couldn't afford. Mom saw this as my duty. If I ever hesitated or complained, she reminded me that Maya was going to be the one to make it, the one who could lift us out of poverty. My sacrifice wasn't really a sacrifice, she said. It was an investment in our future. For a while, it seemed like she was right. Maya graduated with honors, top of her class, and landed a high-paying finance job straight out of college. When she called me that day to celebrate, she told me I wouldn't have to struggle anymore, that she would return the favor and help me get my life back on track. That was the moment I let myself believe things would finally get easier. I started looking at community colleges, thinking I could finally take the classes I had put off for years. I even let myself imagine moving into a place of my own. Instead of staying in the cramped apartment I shared with two roommates, Maya told me I deserved it, that she would make sure I got the chance I never had before. Then, everything changed. At first, it was small things. She moved into a high-rise apartment in the city, saying she needed a nice place to reflect her new status. When I mentioned repayment, she brushed it off. She was still settling in. Then came the designer clothes, the luxury vacations, the expensive dinners. Her social media was filled with pictures of rooftop parties and weekend getaways. While I was still working double shifts to make rent, I brought it up again, more directly this time. She told me to be patient. The final blow came when I sat her down and told her I needed the money back. Not all at once, just in payments. Anything, really. She didn't even hesitate before telling me I was on my own. You did what you had to do as a sister, she said. No one forced you. That was it. Years of sacrifice dismissed like they meant nothing. I walked out of that conversation knowing one thing. Maya was never going to pay me back. She had no intention of helping me. Not now, not ever. I had spent years breaking my back so she could have a future, and the second she got what she wanted, she cut me off like I was disposable. That's when I made my decision. If she thought I was just going to let it go, she was dead wrong. The moment I walked out of that conversation with Maya, I knew exactly what I had to do. She thought she could walk away from years of sacrifice without consequences. She thought I would let it go, like all the other times I had put her first. She was wrong. I went home and opened my laptop. I had kept every receipt, every bank transfer, every text message where she had promised to pay me back. I had records of tuition payments, rent deposits, grocery bills, everything that proved I had financially supported her for years. Maya had always been careful about her image. She liked to tell people she had worked hard to get where she was. But the messages she had sent me over the years told a different story. I'll pay you back as soon as I graduate. Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you. I promise I'll take care of you like you took care of me. The proof was all there. She had admitted, over and over again, that she owed me. The next step was finding out what legal options I had. I booked an appointment with a lawyer, a no-nonsense woman who took one look at my evidence and told me I had a solid case. With the right approach, I could take Maya to court and force her to pay me back. That alone was satisfying, but then I stumbled on something even better. Maya's wealthy boyfriend, Daniel, was under the impression that she had put herself through college. She had told him some sob story about growing up poor and working 3 jobs to pay her own way. Meanwhile, she had been living off my money, staying in a nice apartment, eating well, and focusing on her studies without ever having to lift a finger. That was when I realized just how deep her lies went. Before making any legal moves, I gave Maya one last chance. I messaged her, laying out everything. I told her I had records of every dollar I had spent on her and gave her a chance to settle things before I took further action. She read the message. Then she blocked my number. That was it. I took my story to Reddit. I didn't use real names, but I detailed everything, how I had sacrificed my future so my sister could succeed, how she had promised to pay me back, and how she had cut me off the moment she got what she wanted. I included screenshots of our conversations, making sure to blur out personal details, but keeping the messages clear enough that there was no mistaking what had happened. The post blew up overnight. Thousands of comments flooded in, calling Maya out for being selfish, entitled, and ungrateful. People from our hometown and even some of her college friends saw it and started sharing their own stories. Apparently, I wasn't the only one she had used. Then, it got even worse for her. Her coworkers saw the post, and so did Daniel. I got a message from an unknown number the next day. It was Daniel. He wanted proof. So I sent him everything. The messages, the bank transfers, the receipts, he got it all. Within hours, Maya was calling me from another number, screaming about how I had ruined her life. I ignored it. This was just the beginning. Daniel confronted her and it didn't go well. From what I heard, she tried to spin it as a misunderstanding. He wasn't buying it. She had been hinting at an engagement, but now Daniel was pulling away, questioning everything she had ever told him. Then, Maya tried a new approach. She reached out with a half-hearted apology and a lowball offer, hoping I would drop the issue. She offered me a few $1,000s, barely a fraction of what she owed me, and tried to guilt-trip me into letting it go. I rejected it immediately. Full repayment, or I was taking her to court. Meanwhile, the public fallout wasn't slowing down. People from all parts of her life were finding out the truth. Former classmates, co-workers, even distant relatives, everyone was talking about it. Maya had built her entire image around being a self-made woman. Now, people knew the truth. The final step? Legal action. I had my lawyer draft and serve Maya with legal papers demanding repayment. She had ignored me when I asked nicely. Now she had no choice but to face the consequences. The battle had officially begun. Things started unraveling for Maya almost immediately after she was served with the legal papers. The fallout from my viral Reddit post was still growing, and it had made its way into every corner of her life. At work, people were talking. The whispers started small, hushed conversations when she walked past, sideways glances in meetings. Then, someone sent the Reddit post to the office group chat. That was when things really went south. Her coworkers started asking questions. Some of them had known her during college and had believed the story she told about putting herself through school. Now, they were finding out the truth, that she had lived comfortably while I had been the one struggling to make ends meet. It didn't take long for HR to step in. Someone forwarded the post to them, and soon Maya was sitting in a closed-door meeting with her boss. It wasn't about the lawsuit itself. Her job didn't care about her personal debts, but her credibility was shot. She had built her entire career on being hardworking, responsible, and independent. Now her coworkers were questioning everything she had ever said. Meanwhile, things weren't looking good in her personal life either. Daniel's family got wind of the drama, and they weren't happy. They had already been hesitant about Maya because she wasn't from a wealthy background, but now they thought she was a liar and a gold digger. His parents sat him down and told him to rethink everything. They warned him that a woman who would manipulate her own sister wouldn't hesitate to do the same to him. He hadn't even processed all of it yet when I sent him more proof. Every bank transfer, every bill I had covered, every message where Maya had promised to pay me back. After that, Daniel was done. Maya's meltdown started with an angry text. She blamed me for ruining her life over something as small as money. As if years of sacrifice and financial struggle were nothing. As if she had the right to turn her back on me the second she didn't need me anymore. I ignored the message. My lawyer had already filed the lawsuit, and the court date was set. Then came the career hit. Maya had been in line for a promotion, a big one. But after the HR meeting and all the office gossip, it didn't happen. They passed her over for someone else. That was when Daniel officially ended things. No more engagement talk, no more weekend trips together, no more shared future. He packed his things and left, refusing to take her calls. That's when the sobbing calls started. The same person who had blocked me just days ago was now desperate to talk. She called over and over again, but I didn't answer. The damage was done, and it was all her own doing. Our mother tried next. She showed up at my apartment, angry, frustrated, telling me to let it go. According to her, Maya had already suffered enough. She lost her boyfriend, her promotion, her social standing. Wasn't that punishment enough? I stood my ground. Family doesn't use each other as stepping stones. Maya didn't stop there. She started telling anyone who would listen that the money had been a gift. She tried to twist the story, painting me as greedy and bitter. Unfortunately for her, my lawyer was already ahead of her. The bank transfers, the messages, even the casual texts where she had admitted to repaying me, there was no way for her to argue that it was a gift. Her last supporters, mutual friends, old classmates, started pulling away. No one wanted to be associated with her after seeing how easily she could betray the person who had given up everything for her. Maya tried to delay the court date, scrambling for a way out. My lawyer shut that down immediately. There was no running from this. Realizing she was out of options, she made a last-ditch attempt at settling. She reached out through a mutual friend, offering to pay me back in small amounts, but only a fraction of what she owed. I refused. Full repayment, legal fees included. No negotiations. Maya had backed herself into a corner. She had spent years climbing up, using my sacrifices as her ladder. Now the foundation was gone, and she had nowhere left to run. The court date arrived faster than expected. I walked into the courthouse prepared. My lawyer had gone over every detail, every piece of evidence, making sure there were no loopholes Maya could exploit. Maya was already there, sitting stiffly in one of the chairs outside the courtroom. She looked rough, dark circles under her eyes, hair hastily tied back, dressed in something that was meant to look put together, but clearly wasn't. It was a far cry from the polished, confident woman she had pretended to be just weeks ago. Her lawyer, a man who looked like he was used to handling small contract disputes and not personal lawsuits like this, was flipping through papers. He barely glanced at me as I walked in. Inside the courtroom, it didn't take long for Maya to start her act. She tried to paint me as some bitter, jealous sister who was only suing her out of spite. She claimed I had no real hardship, that I had supported her willingly, and was only coming after her now because I was resentful of her success. My lawyer let her talk. Then, when it was our turn, she calmly laid everything out. Bank transfers, every single payment I had made for Maya's tuition, rent, groceries, screenshots, texts where Maya had acknowledged the debt, promising to pay me back, witness statements, friends who had known the truth and were ready to back me up. Then came the final blow. A video. It was a short clip from a family gathering years ago. Maya, laughing, telling our relatives how she couldn't have made it through college without me, talking about how she would repay me someday. She had been bragging, back then, trying to make herself look grateful. But now, it was undeniable proof that she had always known she owed me. The judge barely looked at Maya as she tried to come up with an excuse. Her lawyer scrambled, trying to claim that the money had been a gift, but the records told a different story. Every payment, every deposit documented. The texts alone were enough to shut down that argument, but the bank statements sealed it. The ruling was clear. Maya was ordered to repay me the full amount plus legal fees. A strict deadline was set, meaning she couldn't drag this out for years. That was when the waterworks started. She broke down, claiming she couldn't afford it, that she didn't have that kind of money. But the judge wasn't moved. The ruling stood. The case was over. The fallout didn't stop there. I posted an update on Reddit, letting people know that justice had been served. The response was immediate. More support flooded in, more people calling Maya out for what she had done. Then, it hit her job. The scandal had already damaged her reputation at work, but now that people knew she had lost in court, it got worse. The whispers turned into direct avoidance. People didn't trust her. She wasn't getting invited to meetings. Her credibility was shot. And Daniel, he had officially moved on. Maya found out through mutual friends that he had started dating someone else. Someone with no baggage, no lies hanging over her head. She tried calling him, but he ignored every attempt. Then, just like that, Maya went silent. No angry texts, no calls, no attempts to negotiate. And that was what made me suspicious. She wasn't the type to just accept consequences. If she was quiet, that meant she was planning something. Maya stayed quiet for weeks after the court ruling. No tantrums, no last-ditch apologies, nothing, just silence. That alone was suspicious. Then, I got a call from a mutual acquaintance, someone who had been watching everything unfold from the sidelines. Maya had quit her job. She hadn't just lost the promotion. She had walked away entirely. She was planning to skip town. It made sense. She had no way of paying me back, and with her reputation in ruins, she probably thought disappearing would solve her problems. But I wasn't about to let her run from the consequences. I contacted my lawyer immediately. Since the debt was now court-ordered, we had options. Within days, a lien was filed against any assets she owned. Her bank accounts were flagged. She couldn't just pack up and leave without dealing with the financial mess she had created. That's when the fire sale started. Maya began selling off everything she owned: designer bags, high-end furniture, expensive electronics. She had spent years living in luxury, thinking the money would never run out. Now, she was scrambling to scrape together whatever she could. But it wasn't enough. She had burned through too much too fast, and no one was willing to lend her anything. Friends who had once partied with her in rooftop lounges were suddenly too busy to pick up her calls. No one wanted to be associated with her now that the truth was out. Then, our mother showed up at my door. Maya had gone to her, spinning some sob story about how I was ruining her life. According to her, I was being cruel by enforcing the repayment, as if I hadn't spent years struggling just to keep her afloat. Mom wasn't there to talk. She was there to demand that I drop everything. She called me heartless. She told me that family forgives, that Maya was suffering enough already. I told her the same thing I had told Maya. Family doesn't use each other as stepping stones. If she cared so much, she could help her. But that was the thing. Mom didn't want to help Maya financially. She wanted me to keep carrying the burden. When I refused, she gave up. After that, Maya's situation got worse. Her credit score tanked. She couldn't rent a decent place without a cosigner. No one wanted to hire her after everything that had come out. Employers talk, and word had spread fast in her industry. Then, the final email came. It was long, bitter, and full of blame. She accused me of destroying her, of being jealous, of taking pleasure in her downfall. There wasn't a single apology. Not once did she acknowledge what she had done to get here. I didn't respond. Instead, I sat back and let it sink in. For years, I had put Maya first. I had given up everything so she could have a future, and in return, she had treated me like I was disposable. Now, I was finally free. Maya hit rock bottom fast. With no job, no savings, and no one willing to bail her out, she had no choice but to take a retail job, the same kind of work I had done for years to support her. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. People from our hometown started noticing. Old classmates, former friends, the ones who had once admired her success, were now watching her stand behind a cash register, scanning groceries. Some of them laughed about it. Others ignored her entirely. No one felt sorry for her. Meanwhile, I was finally building the life I had put on hold for so long. With the money I had recovered from the lawsuit, I started my own business. It wasn't anything flashy, just something small but meaningful. For the first time in years, I was making decisions based on what I wanted, instead of worrying about someone else's future. I also secured a stable job, one that actually paid well and gave me room to grow. No more double shifts, no more exhaustion, no more scraping by while someone else thrived on my sacrifices. Then, Maya resurfaced. The email she sent was long and dramatic. She claimed she had changed, that she had reflected on everything and realized she had made mistakes. But it wasn't an apology, it was an excuse. She talked about stress, about how she had been overwhelmed, about how she had never meant to hurt me. There was no mention of paying me back, no acknowledgement of what she had actually done. I ignored it. Then, our mother tried one last time. She called, insisting that I had to help Maya. She had lost everything, she was struggling, she needed family now more than ever. She went on and on about how I was cruel for abandoning her when she was at her lowest. I told her the same thing I had before. If she cared so much, she could help Maya herself. That was the last time we spoke. For closure, I posted one final update on Reddit, letting everyone know how things had turned out. The support was overwhelming. People were still calling Maya out, still holding her accountable for what she had done. And then, I moved on completely. I cut ties with Maya and my mother for good. I got accepted into an educational program, finally taking the steps I had once sacrificed so Maya could go to college. It felt like reclaiming something that had been stolen from me. I also met someone who genuinely supported my ambitions, who encouraged me to keep moving forward instead of dragging me down. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who actually cared. Maya, she became irrelevant. I heard through acquaintances that she was still struggling, still bouncing from one short-term job to another, still looking for someone to rescue her. But I didn't care anymore. For years, my entire life had revolved around her. Now, it was mine again, and this time, no one was going to take it from me. Months passed without a word from Maya, no calls, no emails, no desperate attempts to get my attention. I had finally moved on, focusing on my own life, my own goals, and my own success. Then, one morning, an email appeared in my inbox. Subject, "Can we talk?" I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Maya wasn't reaching out because she wanted to make amends. She had burned through every option, and now she was circling back, hoping I would be the safety net she no longer had. I deleted it without reading. A few days later, my mother showed up at my doorstep unannounced. It was early, too early for casual visits. She stood there, her expression tight, like she was preparing for a fight she already knew she would lose. Without waiting for an invitation, she stepped inside, shaking her head like she couldn't believe what she was about to say. Maya was struggling. She was depressed. She had lost everything. She was at her breaking point. I let her talk. I let her say everything she had come to say, the same speech she had probably rehearsed in the mirror before getting in her car and driving over. Then she switched tactics. She talked about family, about how we had been through so much together, about how Maya had made mistakes but was still my sister. She said I had to forgive her, that it was time to put this all behind us. I told her no. She looked stunned, like she hadn't even considered the possibility that I wouldn't budge. Then came the final plea. She blamed me. She said that if I had just let things go, if I hadn't sued, if I hadn't ruined Maya's reputation, then Maya wouldn't be in this position. She called me selfish, cruel, unforgiving. I stood my ground. For years, I had put Maya first. I had given up everything, so she could have a future. She had thrown it all away, and now she was paying the price for her own choices. Mom left in silence. Days later, I heard through acquaintances that Maya had finally landed a job at a call center. It didn't last long. Within 2 months, she was fired for attitude issues. With nowhere else to turn, she tried reconnecting with old friends. It didn't work. The people who had once been in her corner had seen the truth. They knew she had done this to herself. Then, the GoFundMe happened. Someone sent me the link, and I almost laughed. There it was, a sob story about how her family had abandoned her, how she had lost everything, how she was trying to rebuild her life, but couldn't do it alone. She was asking for donations, claiming she just needed a little help to get back on her feet. The internet wasn't kind. People immediately recognized her from my viral Reddit post. The comment section was brutal. "This you? Didn't you scam your sister out of thousands? Maybe try paying back the money you stole first." Within hours, she shut the fundraiser down. That was the moment it really sank in. Maya had lost everything: her job, her reputation, her social standing. She had no support left, no one to manipulate, no way to claw her way back to the life she had once taken for granted. And for the first time in years, I felt completely free. I stopped checking for updates on Maya's life. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the next disaster, the next manipulation, or the next desperate attempt to drag me back in. I moved forward, focused on myself, and let her fade into the background where she belonged. Then, an unknown number called. I don't usually answer numbers I don't recognize, but something told me to pick up. The second I did, I heard the familiar, shaky voice. It was Maya. She had used our mom's phone to get through to me. She wasn't angry this time. She wasn't screaming or blaming me for everything that had happened. She was crying. She had nowhere to go. No job, no savings, no one left to turn to. She had burned every bridge. She begged me to help her, just for a little while. A place to stay. A little money, anything. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I asked one simple question. If you could go back in time, would you still refuse to pay me back? Silence. A long, painful silence. Then finally she answered. I don't know. That was it. That was all I needed to hear. She hadn't learned anything. She wasn't sorry. She didn't regret what she had done. She only regretted the consequences. I hung up. That was the moment I was truly done with her. But Maya wasn't done trying to escape the mess she had made. After I shut her down, she made one last attempt to reconnect with Daniel. Maybe she thought he'd take pity on her, or maybe she thought she could manipulate him into helping her. It didn't work. Daniel was engaged. He had moved on completely. He didn't even acknowledge her attempt to reach out. That's when our mother stepped in again. But this time, she wasn't demanding. She was pleading. She showed up one last time, exhausted, defeated. Maya had officially run out of places to go, and now, she was truly homeless. She'll be on the streets if you don't help. I didn't hesitate. If you care so much, you take her in. Mom didn't respond right away. She just stood there realizing that she didn't want to deal with Maya either. That was the last time we spoke. Later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Mom had finally given up on Maya too. She refused to house her, refused to financially support her, and refused to get dragged down any further. With no one left to manipulate, Maya started couch hopping between distant relatives, never staying in one place for long. People got tired of her quickly. She had no job, no real plan, no ability to take responsibility for herself. Eventually, even they stopped answering her calls. Maya had finally lost everything. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. Looking back, it's almost unbelievable how much I sacrificed for Maya. Years of struggle, working myself to exhaustion, thinking I was doing the right thing, believing that my sacrifices would mean something in the end. I wasn't just supporting her financially. I had given up my future, my dreams, my time, all for someone who had never planned to return the favor. It took losing everything for Maya to finally understand that actions have consequences. I don't regret suing her. I only regret not putting myself first sooner. Now, my life is mine again. I'm financially stable. The small business I started is thriving, growing faster than I expected. I've built something meaningful, something for me, not for anyone else. On top of that, I went back to school. The education I once sacrificed for Maya, I'm finally getting it, on my own terms. Maya, on the other hand, didn't bounce back. I heard through an old acquaintance that she's living in a rundown apartment with a few unreliable roommates, people just as lost as she is. She burned too many bridges, lost too many people's trust. Even our mother finally stopped fighting for her. At some point, she must have realized that no matter how many times she tried to guilt-trip others into helping, Maya was a lost cause. People from our old circle reached out to me, some just to check in, others to admit they had been wrong about Maya all along. Any sympathy she might have had was gone. No one saw her as a victim anymore. Meanwhile, I started volunteering at a charity that helps young adults from low-income backgrounds get into college. It felt full circle, helping people who actually wanted to succeed. Then, one day, Maya sent one final email. Subject, I hope you're happy. That was it, just one bitter sentence. No apology, no admission of guilt. I deleted it without responding. For the first time in years, I felt nothing but peace. No more obligations, no more guilt, no more being dragged down by toxic family dynamics. For the first time, my future was mine. To wrap things up, I posted one final update on Reddit, thanking everyone who had followed my story, the people who had supported me through it all. The top comment, Maya fumbled the biggest bag of all time. Couldn't have said it better myself.